broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, this is Susan Del Rosario from Tutor.com. We're going to be getting started in just a few minutes, but first of all, I wanted to thank you very much for joining us today. We're extremely excited about the information that's going to be presented from our two different library partners. Before I pass this over to them and we get into what you really came for, I wanted to go through just a couple of logistics. So the first thing everybody should know is because we are expecting so many attendees today, we do have all participants muted, and that just stops the background noise, makes it easy for everybody to hear. That does not mean we don't want to engage with you, though. We would love to hear your thoughts and your questions. So as we go through the presentation and the webinar, I'm going to invite you to use your GoToWebinar control panel. You should see it. Typically, it's over on the right-hand side of the screen. If it's not expanded, you may see a little orange arrow instead that you can click and make it expand. When you do that, you'll see a question or a section that says questions. Click to expand that question box, and that's where you can enter any questions you may have for the presenter or any comments and stories of your own that you'd like to share. After each section of the presentation, we'll go ahead and pause and read out the questions that have come in and be able to answer those questions for you. The other section that I want you to be aware of in GoToWebinar is a section called handouts. So if you don't see handouts, look at the top of the control panel, and there's a button that says View. Click on View and then put a check mark next to handouts. In the handout section, you should be able to click on the two different files that are in there in order to download a PDF of this presentation, as well as a certificate of completion for the webinar that you're going through today. If you cannot get those, if there's something stopping the download on your system, don't worry about it. We always end up putting the PDF on the Client Resource Center, and I'll be sure to send you links to that in our follow-up email. We can't send the PDF via email because it's over 50 megabytes and everybody's email system would definitely moan and groan about having to get a file that large. But we'll make sure that we at least send you a link to where you can download it if you can't get it through your handouts section. So with all of that being said, I probably should have done this first, but what I'd like to do now is go ahead and test the audio and make sure that you guys are able to hear me and that you can find that GoToWebinar control panel. So if you can, locate that GoToWebinar control panel and you will see a little oh, I see some of you doing it already. You must be used to this. You're our veterans to the webinars. So on the GoToWebinar control panel, you will see a little icon that looks like a hand. Go ahead and click that icon to raise your hand. Let us know that you can hear us and that you've located that. Oh, wonderful. So many hands going up. That is perfect, perfect, perfect. Just what we want to see. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and lower those hands now. And now that I know you guys all can locate your box, don't forget to use the question box. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenters. So we are lucky enough today to have two different libraries sharing their tips, tricks, and stories on how to use Instagram to share their library story with the community. So we are going to have both Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh as well as Carmel Clay Public Library. And from who's going to be going first? So we're going to have Katie Blackthorne from Carmel Clay Public Library presenting first. And then once she's done, we'll go through a short question and answer period with her. And after that, we will have Molly Bennett and Nora Guion from Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. And again, they'll go through their presentation and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So all of that busy business stuff taken care of, I am going to go ahead and pass the screen over to Katie, and she can take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Blackthorne, and I am just going to jump right on in. So today I'm going to talk to you a lot about the basics. We're going to talk about why use Instagram, what to post, what are popular posts, what hashtags are, some additional apps you can use to help with using Instagram, and general things to keep in mind, kind of to sum things up. All right, so let's get right in. Why use Instagram? It is an incredibly popular form of social media, and it has over 1 billion users worldwide. That is a lot. And I think the reason is because it's simple. So compared to other social media like Facebook, for example, it's got significantly less functions. The basics of it are posting pictures, which you can like and comment. There's now a function to add to a story like you would on Snapchat, and there's a messaging function. And that's it. That's all Instagram is. It's simple and it's very easy to use. And I think the reason it works so great for libraries specifically is because it lets you show your library to the community. So we've all heard it, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's what Instagram is. It's all about pictures. So really, it just lets you show everything you've got, and it shows it so great. And since it's such a popular app, it really reaches all over. So, oh, and it's very easy to use. You basically just scroll through a feed. So if you're familiar with Facebook, it's very similar. There's a main feed, but all that's in it are pictures and whatever description basically is underneath it. And that's it. You just scroll down. So what are things you can post as a library? Well, to start off, you can think of day-to-day life at your library. What goes on a typical day? What are some displays you have up currently? What are some of the new books you've gotten in? You can show off some of your staff members and let your viewers and your community get to know the people who are there making that library function. You can show off seasonal things like summer or winter reading challenges. And you can show off your basic library resources, other things offered in-house that people may not think of, because a lot of people still see libraries as a place to go and check out books, and that's it. And libraries offer so much more, and it's a great way to show all of those resources. Other things you can do are promote upcoming events and programs. So we're very lucky here at Carmel Clay to have a very awesome communications department who produces event paraphernalia, so to speak, for all of the social media we have. And I can use that to promote the different things we have coming up on the Instagram page. But unlike Facebook, Instagram doesn't have an events section like Facebook does. Like I said, it's very simplistic. So you can't really create an event and then have reminders and notifications pop up periodically and remind everyone who's invited to that. So my best recommendation, if that is something you choose to do, is to not post too far in advance. Usually once a viewer sees something in their feed, it's gone after that. So it just gets buried under the new stuff coming into their feed, and it's likely they'll never see that again. So if you are promoting events, I would not recommend posting too far in advance. You can also show pictures during events and programs and afterward too. So this wouldn't be advertisements as much as your community taking part in what you're doing. So you'd show, if it's a seminar type thing where people are sitting and listening, you can show the room full of people, how many people showed up. if it's more interactive, you can show the community interacting with whatever's going on at the program. And people really love to see that kind of stuff. More than advertisements, they love to see people. They love to see real things. So it's very, very positive to show off what goes on at your events and programs. Another thing you can show are other interactions with your community. So not only are you showing people who come to your events and programs, but just patrons using your library's resources in general. Do you have a bunch of tables full of students and tutors? Do you have parents reading out loud to their children? People learning about different ebooks, things like that? People at your library interacting. It's always awesome to show off, because then it's, as a secondary, it lets you show off more of your resources too. Other information that's important is a great thing to put onto Instagram. So if you're closed for certain holidays, or if hours are changing because of holidays or something else, if there's parking updates, other updates, things that you want to get across to your community, but you can't just leave it up to a sign posted on the door kind of thing. Instagram is a great way to get that reach out to people. And last but not least, books. Books, books, books. That's a staple of what we are as libraries. And there are, what I would say, limitless things you can do. You can get creative and artistic with your book displays or pictures of books. You can just show books on shelves. Like, I like to show new books coming in. Our shelves full of new books is a fun thing. That is, like I said, what everyone thinks of with libraries. Use that to your advantage. Show off all those books. So here are some samples from our Instagram of some of the things I mentioned. So the top two, those are events we had. We've got a musical performance for families up in the top left. And then in the top right there, we had a group come in who showed off exotic and interesting animals. And so I got to show some of the animals at the library and the children interacting with them. On the bottom left, we've got a very fun and interesting display that people seemed to really love. It was our Raining Cats and Dogs display in April. And in the bottom right, we've got, these are actually all cakes, because every year we have what we call our Edible Books contest. And like I mentioned, people like to see people. So they like to see things that people made too. This is showing handmade, interesting, adorable, awesome stuff that the patrons are creating and collaborating with the library. So those are some samples of what I've talked about already. Next up, I'm going to talk about some of the more popular posts from my experience. So at the very top of this list, I put photo challenges, because those are huge on Instagram, not just for libraries, but for people's personal accounts. I recently actually did a photo challenge called the Library Life Challenge. I got tagged to do this from another library, and I did it myself. It was a 7-day challenge where each day you post a photo in black and white, and there are no people in the photos and no explanation saying what the photo is. You're just letting the photo speak for itself. And each day you also tagged a new library to join the challenge. And that went over incredibly well. People really loved it because it was artsy, it was interesting, it was beautiful, and it was just a great way to show off some of the simple things here, the building, the books in the building, what we have. Other fun things to show that are really popular are, as you can imagine, pictures from programs and events. So with people enjoying seeing other people, they love to see how many people showed up to this or that and what actually goes on. Maybe they heard about the event and they had no idea what it was, and they get to see, oh, well, this is what happened there. That's really cool. Interesting or unique displays are other really popular posts you can do. Like I showed you that Raining Cats and Dogs display that was incredibly popular. People thought it was so cute and clever. And plus, our librarian who created that worked very hard on it, and I loved being able to show off her hard work. And then here at the bottom, when I talked about showing off books earlier, these are some of the ways I do that. You get a little more creative with it, or getting artsy with it. So the picture I've actually accompanied this slide with is an April Showers one that I did myself. Our teen books, our paperbacks, have the first letter of the author's last name on the spines, and I use that to spell out April Showers. I've also spelled out a few other things that way, and then added an umbrella to this one to tie it all together. But there are a lot of other things you can do too to get creative. I made a poem once I stacked up a bunch of book spines facing out, and the titles on the spines created a poem. I grouped together books based on color, so I've done like a rainbow of books, or a color palette of books, themed it. So I did like a feeling blue kind of display with a bunch of blue books. What else? Just basically popular librarian book hashtags. That's kind of confusing the way I've written it, but what it basically means is there are some things like Book Face Friday or Book Through Phone that are kind of library specific, but they're very popular. I might have some of those later in pictures, but the basics are with Book Face Friday, for example, you take a picture, or you take a book that has a picture of a person on it, and then you hold it in front of an actual person so that the person and the book kind of come together as if it's one person, like the cover of the book is expanding into real life. It's very popular, very fun, a really awesome way to get creative. You can involve staff, patrons, so those always go over really well. Next, I'm going to talk about hashtags, because some people don't know what they are or how to use them, and they can actually be a phenomenal tool for growing your viewership, so to speak, how many people see your post, how many people follow your library. So what are they? They're basically tags to categorize your posts. So anyone who's familiar with blogs, this might actually clarify things, but if you think of a blog and how people add tags to them, the creator does. So if it's a fitness blog and the post is about running, they might use running as a tag. And then in different parts of their blog, you can search their posts with running, and everything that came up would be anything having to do with running. So basically each tag links to a page that has all other posts in the world, basically, that use that tag. It is, in this picture, you can see them down at the bottom. It's the hashtag mark, or the pound symbol, followed by a word or words without any spaces between them. In that picture, you can see hashtag Carmel Live, hashtag Libraries of Instagram, hashtag yoga, hashtag family. So, and basically, I have a picture coming up, so I'll show you. This is what it looks like. This image here is an example. It'll bring you to a page where everyone who's used that hashtag, it shows all of those pictures. So there's, as you can see, a top and a recent. The top would be most popular posts or most liked, I guess, with that hashtag, and recent would be the most recent post with that hashtag, and that is always changing. Basically, it's all about categorizing. So how do you use them? It's actually super easy. So you think about what you want to categorize your photo with, how you would describe it, and then one by one, you add each tag. Anywhere in the description works. Most people that I've seen, and the way I do it, is we put the hashtags at the very end of the post so that the first thing people see is the description we want them to read. But anywhere in your post works, it doesn't matter where. And as long as you type the hashtag symbol followed by a word without any spaces, that grouping of letters, no matter how many words it is, creates one hashtag. And to start a new one, you simply hit the space bar and start typing a new one. So you don't need to put any commas or anything else to separate them. You'll just type it out. And so down here, I've kind of showed you with Libraries of Instagram, that is one tag. and there are no spaces between libraries, of, or Instagram. And then last thing I put down there is capital letters do not matter. So if you capitalize it so it's easier to read, that's fine, but it's still gonna register the same as it would without a capitalization. So hashtag reading with capital R, same as hashtag reading with lowercase r. And lastly here, we're gonna talk about why to use them. Like I mentioned earlier, the hashtags bring more people to your posts. In the search function in Instagram, if you were to type in something, it not only shows you pages that relate to whatever you typed in, but it'll also bring up hashtags that relate to what you typed. So when people are looking up things they're interested in, that if they're interested in books and you hashtag books, that's going to show up. It creates a lot more visibility. It also, here at the bottom, if you come up with a unique but simple hashtag for your library, it also becomes a way to categorize all of your posts. So not just your posts, but your library's posts. So anyone at your library who took a picture while they were there and wanted to post it to Instagram, they could use that hashtag, and you could see that. Anyone else could see that if you went to the page for that hashtag. And ours is CarmelLib, as you've probably figured out by now. But we love having this because we have a few signs around our library that tell people, hey, use this hashtag. And we use the same hashtag for other social media as well. But so anyone who takes pictures here, they have this knowledge already that they can share it with us, and we can see it and we can interact with them by using this hashtag. And anyone else who types it in, not only are they going to see all of our posts, but they're going to see all of our patrons' posts as well. And I've listed some out here as kind of a good way to jumpstart it. So these aren't all of them, obviously. It's not all the popular library hashtags, but these are some good ones. Libraries with Instagram, Bookstagram, Shelfie, a joke instead of selfie, Bookface Friday. Those are all pretty popular in the library Instagram world, and great things to look up if you're looking up for inspiration. And then under that, I put a few popular general Instagram hashtags, so not library specific, but anyone. And a lot of these have to do with days of the week. So Motivational Monday, if you want to put motivational wellness books or something, that would be a great one to use. Flashback Friday, Throwback Thursday, those are both kind of similar. People usually show them to show changes between their childhood and their current life. Well, I've used stuff like that to show off the changes in our library. So one I think was really fun. I had a picture of our very first building that we had like 100 years ago and our current building, and kind of jumping through time there for a Throwback Thursday. Another one over here is Catterday, which is obviously cats. And I like to use this one every now and then. And this is another way I like to interact with our patrons in the community is I encourage our patrons and followers to share pictures of their cats with books and use the CarmelLib hashtag so I can see them, and then I can reshare it so they can be featured on our page. So here's one more sample. The description I put with this one is, check out what our book discussion groups are reading for October. And the picture is a collage of the books they're reading. And then this is how the hashtags look underneath it. So you've got all of them listed out separately. The only spaces are the spaces in between the hashtags. And I've changed it for this. They actually are more generic blue color than this teal, but there's a different color to show that they're linked. So now I'm going to talk about just a couple helpful apps that I use that can enhance using Instagram. The first two, Layout and Boomerang, those are made by the same people that made Instagram They're all owned by the same company, so they integrate incredibly well. Layout lets you arrange up to 9 photos into a square collage, so you don't have to use all 9 of them. You can do 2, 7, whatever you want, and you can kind of mash up and kind of create a custom collage with any of the photos you already have. Boomerang is a fun one for videos, so it's video specific, whether you're making this an actual post or you're using it for your stories. It basically takes a short video and it loops it backwards and forwards a little bit faster than real time, just like a boomerang. It goes and comes back. So it's an unending loop of backwards and forwards. And lastly, here we have Repost. This is how I like to share other people's photos, whether it's a user who just took a random photo at the library, or it's someone who was sharing a Saturday post. This is how I share it, because then I can recopy their entire photo and their description, and it puts their citation, so to speak, right there in the picture. It puts it in one of the corners, listing off their Instagram username, so everyone can see right there from the picture who the original creator is. So I really like that one. These are probably what I use most. I don't have editing apps separately because Instagram itself already has little editing tools, whether it's just putting filters or doing more specific editing tweaks. I personally feel like it's got enough that I think it's already covered for what I need to post. The last thing I'm going to get to here are just some things to keep in mind. Post often. It seems obvious, but it can be easy to forget sometimes. Basically, since I mentioned earlier that once you see a photo, it's gone, you want to create a presence in your followers' feed. So the more you post, the more they're going to see you. They're going to see your library. I try to post a minimum of 4 times a week if I can. There are times I don't even get that much. But the goal is to have a post every day. And that just, it keeps you and your library in the minds of your patrons and your followers and your community. What else? So a good thing to do that I always try and I can't always, but I try very hard to keep to this, is to keep my descriptions short and to the point. As I mentioned, scrolling through your Instagram feed is very fast. And I've actually seen this back when I first discovered Instagram just personally as a personal user. And I saw a friend on Instagram once, and she almost never stopped the screen from moving while she was scrolling. She never stopped to actually read any of the descriptions. If she stopped at all, it was long enough to double tap the photo to like it and then to keep going. And a lot of users actually do use Instagram this way. So if you end up putting a really long description with a lot of stuff and details, there's a good chance it's not going to get read. Underneath here, I put TLDR, that is internet lingo for too long, didn't read. A lot of people use Instagram in brief moments here and there, and they don't necessarily want to take the time to read a big long paragraph or two. If they read something, they want it to be short and sweet. Otherwise, they're just likely to skip over it entirely. So I always try and get straight into the point, maybe 1 sentence, 2 max. And since in our profile, we have a link to the library's website, anyone who is interested can get to more information about whatever I'm posting pretty quickly. So I've never had an issue with someone saying that they need more information from any of my posts. So short and sweet. What else? It's good to stay involved. So if someone tags you, like that photo, comment on that photo. If someone comments on one of your photos, you can like that comment, or if they ask a question, you could answer it. You can comment back to them. If you do what I do and you have your own personal hashtag, you should check up on it. You should go to that link page and see if anyone's posted anything new, if anyone's sharing something with you, and just interact with them. And then there are actually other ways to do this as well with your community, but I'll get to that. Here's some more things. Be consistent. So again, I mentioned that we are very lucky to have a wonderful communications department, and we are able to have different forms of the same graphics that advertise our different programs and our different events. If you don't have that luxury, you can see what they're posting, what the other social media accounts are posting, and kind of mimic that. So if you have, if say the Facebook account of your library has some pictures that were taken at an event, you can use those pictures as well, and you've got suddenly a consistency, a continuity between all of your accounts. It feels connected. It's also, I think, a great way to get inspired too. So I'm sure every library is different, but here we have different people in charge of all the different social media just so we can keep up with it all. And I like to see what the different people are posting on Twitter and on Facebook and seeing, like, can I post something like that? Can I get involved with this too? Invite interactions with your followers. So this is another way to be engaged in the communication with the people who follow you. You can use your photos or the story function to ask questions. You can post 2 books and say, which one do you like more, and have them vote. Or you can just straight out ask them, what are you currently reading, and get them to share that. You can also, like I mentioned, how I do the Catterday post, which, by the way, that's what I've got over here, is the book for Catterday. Invite them to share and be part of that. So if you do something similar, like have them share the books that they're reading, have them link that to you to feel like they're getting involved, give them the possibility to be featured on your page. That's always exciting. Like, ooh, my post got on the library's Instagram. How cool is that? And again, you can do contests, you can do challenges, you can, you know, not only challenge other libraries, you can challenge your patrons and your followers. So you can incite those interactions as well as just keeping up with them. And then you can also plan ahead. So that is something I struggled with for a while, actually. I would try and write out what I was going to do, but I might lose that piece of paper or miss a day and be all thrown off, which, you know, that happens. And it's easy. What you need to do is don't stress about it, and it becomes a lot easier. But what I've personally done so that I can keep pretty consistent for my library is that I've actually got a planner, and I fill in each day, not quite a month ahead, it really just depends, but I start filling in each day for what I'm going to post on that day. So that way I can kind of, you know, not be overwhelmed. What do I post today? I've got this whole plan mapped out, and I'm constantly adding to it and changing it, but that way I'm never stuck for what am I gonna say. So that's the end of what I've got to say. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast or mumble or anything. I just want to say thank you for listening, and I think we're actually going to push it on now to questions.
All right. Thank you, Katie. I'm going to go ahead and bring up my screen for everybody, because we did get a few questions and a few comments. Now, I noticed that you answered some of these questions throughout, but I want to make sure we, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger for y'all. So that should be better. I want to make sure that we get those questions answered. So the first one that we received is, do you have any issues posting pictures of members of the public? Do you need the photo waivers, and how do you deal with this issue?
So this is going to be something that differs for each and individual library. At our library, we actually have signs posted all over that basically say, while you're at this program, while you're here, you might be photographed and that photograph might be shared. So if you have a problem with this, to find someone who works there. So if you're at a program, to find the library personnel who's running that program, or if you're just at the library, to notify someone at some desk, basically get that information known. Otherwise, they are subject to it from being there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how our policy works. Now, I know every library is different, so you know, that answer could be all over the place for everyone else.
Okay. Yeah, and every library is definitely different on that. So the next question that we were asked is, how often do you post? And you mentioned the goal is, of course, once per day, but you definitely try to have a minimum of 4 times per week. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, actually. So if you find that on a specific day that you have more than one thing you'd like to share, that makes it a lot easier for the days you forget. So maybe I only share on 3 different days, but I could have 5 different posts for that one week. So, you know, if the juices are flowing or if there's a lot going on, go ahead and share all you've got. Like, certainly don't limit yourself to just one time a day. And that creates a great way to create more of a presence, even if it's not literally every day.
All right. Excellent. And then we had a comment from Novi Public Library. You were mentioning the book face photos where they hold the book up, and Novi's done quite a few of those. I've seen those on their social media for sure. And they just wanted to give you a thumbs up, saying they always get great reactions there. Another comment that's come in since we started Q&A, so I don't have it on the slide, is that Stacy just says, so you know, Katie, I have always been intimidated by Instagram, and you have made it so easy. So that is wonderful to hear. We're glad that we're able to provide some information. Back into the question. So do you guys have a very specific social media policy? And in terms of Instagram, how many people contribute to it or are posting on there?
I don't think we have much of a social media policy. Unfortunately, that's not something I really have the information on. At our library, kind of the head is our communications department, and they kind of reach out to different people who they think they would be suited for each social media from there. So we're like personally not working together a lot. That's why I mentioned I like to like check the other social media to see what they've got going on. Mm-hmm. For the Instagram personally, it is just me. We only well, I'll say this. We have a digital media lab, which is kind of, it's part of our library, but it's in a different building. It's a maker space with just all the computer programs you can think of, the Adobe suite, sound systems. They've got what they call Whisper Room, which is basically a soundproof recording area. Basically people who create things, this is a place for them to work, but it's in a separate building, and they have their own Instagram and Facebook from us. But that's, I think, just because of the separation with buildings, that, you know, there's not, we don't all get over there very much. They don't get over here as often as we'd all like. So that's kind of part of why they run their own thing. Okay. But for the main one, it's just me.
All right, wonderful. How long did it take you to get to the 1,300 plus followers?
So this is unfortunately another one I don't really have a full answer for. I took over the Instagram from the previous guy who used to take it. So I've had the Instagram for about 1.5 years now. When I started, it had 900 something followers. So it's grown by about 400 in 1.5 years, I'd say, a little over 1.5 years by now. Oh. That, again, that's all I've got. Unfortunately, I don't know how long it took to get the beginning going.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Actually, quite a few more questions have come in, and I did set aside a few more, a little bit more time for your Q&A as well. So I'm just going to read some of these out that I haven't gotten on to a slide, and hopefully they can go quickly so we can answer as many as possible. One of the simpler ones: how many days before a program do you suggest advertising?
1 to 3, I'd say, because you want it to be fresh in their mind. And especially because if there are multiple forms of social media for your library, if your library, for example, has a Facebook, they could see the event information on Instagram and think, well, oh, let's check Facebook, see if they have any more. Let's check the website, see if they have any more. If they find their way to Facebook, that's how they can get involved in that, join the event and get the notifications. But yeah, I would definitely not go more than maybe just a couple days, because it just might be out of sight, out of mind by then.
By then, yeah, exactly. Okay, let's see another one. Go back up. There's so many great questions coming in, guys. This is wonderful. I apologize to those of you that if I may not get to yours. So, Katie, do you use any particular tool for pre-scheduling? Or the other question is there a specific tool you use to create any kind of posts? So I know here at Tutor.com we use Canva. Do you have something like that you go to for creating content?
I do not myself. Like I said, we have a graphic designer in our communications department who creates the kind of advertisement-based posts that like talk about a program in advance. For my posts, other than those couple apps that I showed you, the collage apps that I use to put a bunch of book covers together, things like that, I don't personally do any other programs. And I don't like to either. I don't think I would if I could, but we don't have any scheduling software because, at least at the time that I took this over, there weren't any that would just straight up post for you, where you prep them in advance and then you could just look away for a week. You would still have to log back in and hit send, so to speak. And again, that was just at the time that I took it over. Things could have changed now, but I personally like getting on often because I can keep up with what's going on. So, you know, it might be a few times a week where I get tagged in a comment or in a photo, and I can keep up with that. And I can see it more frequently in case anyone does ask a specific question, and I can get an answer to them faster. I can also keep up with all the other libraries and other users that the account follows. I can keep up better with what they're doing by just logging into the Instagram more. So even if I had a tool, I probably wouldn't use it personally.
Okay. All right. And some thoughts that came in from others. There are so many different ways to do this and to manage your social media. We've had some suggestions for one library uses a free version of Hootsuite to post to Facebook and Instagram. Another one uses PicMonkey, 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 to create nearly all the designs. Later.com is a good tool for scheduling Instagram posts. That's another one we have. Well, there's even more questions coming in. Again, we do have another round of presenters that I want to make sure that we get to. So I'm going to leave a few of these for now. You guys keep the questions coming so that I can go ahead and get them on slides. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and move us over to our next round of presenters. So we have Molly Bennett and Nora Guion from Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, and they're going to be sharing with us especially more examples of telling your story on Instagram. So Molly and Nora, let me go ahead and get the question box out of my way. It's covering up my controls. I'm going to pass it over to you and take it away.
Great, thank you. Let me get this up here for everyone. And we will get started. All right. So we'd like to thank Tutor.com for having us. We're really excited for this opportunity. My name is Molly Bennett, and I've been the Director of Communications and Creative Services at Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh for almost 3 years. In that time, I've implemented a new brand strategy which focuses on telling our story and demonstrating the library's impact by placing our community, patrons, donors, volunteers, and staff as the heroes of those stories.
And I'm Nora Guion, the Digital Content Marketing Manager at Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh. I've been working in social media for nearly 10 years, 2 of which have been here at the library. And I love the opportunity to blend traditional marketing and promotion with virtual service and storytelling. So the library provides a lot of great content to accomplish that.
You just learned a lot from Katie about the basics of Instagram. Once you feel comfortable using the platform, you can begin to build out your strategy and think about storytelling. We're going to cover a lot today, including a little bit of background about CLP and how and why we use social media. We'll be showing a lot of examples of posts, and then you will have some time to ask questions. So, Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh's story is very much interwoven with the story of our city and region. Since 1895, the library has been present for every challenge and opportunity facing our community. As great things continue to happen in our region with increased business investment, new residents, and other growth opportunities, the library is ready to help all people thrive in a rapidly changing world. Guided by our mission of literacy and learning and our community's vision for the future, our libraries have become destination spaces for information, technology, community dialogue, social connection, and fun. Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh is 123 years old, and we have 19 locations serving 90 neighborhoods. In 2017, we had 2.9 million visitors and 4.5 million materials circulated. So storytelling is the key component of our marketing and communication strategy. We are exploring the role compelling storytelling plays in our marketing programs. We are experimenting with various storytelling methods and community building programs and are working to understand the precise forms of content our specific audience wants to connect with. The type of content we share is closely related to what services the library provides. In other words, we are educating people so that they know, like, and trust us enough to use or continue to use the library. We no longer want to just advertise a program or service or report out on a program. We want to invite the public into the work as it happens. This allows us to capture stories and content as the program or service begins to unfold and allows the public to follow that story from beginning to end. This Instagram post is a perfect example of this idea. This image was captured during after-school time at one of our locations. Instead of telling, this post shows what is happening. There are no defined narrative rules you need to follow, nor a strict structure for gathering or identifying elements of your story. The purpose is simply to help view your content through a storytelling lens with passion and purpose and heart. This is the only way to establish a strong emotional bond with your patrons over time. In order to stay true to our brand, we must demonstrate the library's impact by placing our community, patrons, donors, volunteers, and staff as the hero of our stories, with Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh as the mentor. This can be done through a long-form story, a quick video, or just a photo and a quote. Most importantly, storytelling is not intended to be a selling tool. It's a method of building strong relationships with our patrons and a thriving community of loyalists over time.
So where does social media fit into this strategy? Social media is a valuable part of our library's communication strategy. It allows the library to connect with users in a timely and genuine way through conversations, information sharing, virtual service, and creative content. We're fortunate here to have a large and growing audience following our channels, and we've developed several goals and objectives to deliver consistent and thoughtful content their way. Some of these include the idea that CLP's social media generates awareness and brand loyalty. It is a meaningful touch point within a user's journey toward conversion, for instance, signing up for a library card, registering for a program, or making a donation. A focus on engagement, timely, proactive content, and employee advocacy, which is freely offered promotion of an organization by its employees, provides a foundation for the library's social media to be a vibrant and welcoming virtual service point for our customers, a place where patrons can request, receive, and discover a variety of library services, from account help to book recommendations and more. To make each of our channels stand out in its own right, we've also developed loose themes for each one. Facebook is all about experiencing the library. Our Facebook content should feel like a visit to one of our locations. We want followers to experience all the library has to offer on this channel. Twitter is about connecting. Our Twitter account is a great place to communicate directly with us, ask for book recommendations, ask for account help, or learn about upcoming events. And Instagram is focused on delighting our patrons and people interested in the library. Our Instagram is meant to be pleasurable and feel good. We want to delight our users with our most pleasing images and content. So with that in mind, when it comes to Instagram, there is one rule of thumb that we stress with all of our content contributors: document, don't promote. Our goal here is to engage and attract followers by providing an aesthetically beautiful collection of images that spark curiosity and delight the senses. The library's Instagram captures the visual essence of the 19 CLP locations, library collections, and activities in a memorable, pleasurable way. So whenever possible, Instagram is a platform for documentation, not promotion. So the objectives we've developed specifically for Instagram include increasing general awareness, which we measure with reach and impressions, increasing engagement, which is measured with likes, comments, reposts, and saves, growing our followers, making sure that all 19 of our locations are represented, and increasing our Instagram story use. And I'll note here that we didn't include web traffic as one of these objectives because linking out of Instagram is not very streamlined and usually requires additional advertising dollars. So a little about our typical Instagram follower. They are our youngest social media audience and also our most passive. People who encounter CLP on Instagram are not necessarily local or library users. The voice we try to convey on our Instagram captions and on all of our social media is your smart, funny friend. Establishing this tone was important in our case because we have multiple people developing and posting content on our channels at any given time. And since we have that social media team, it was also important to develop examples of appropriate content to post while still allowing the team members room to be creative and have fun. We provide very simple parameters to our Instagram team, things like awesome photos you snapped on your phone, quality videos, program recaps with nice photography, which ensures a certain level of quality in our feed. We found that getting any pickier than this discourages participation. So these very general guidelines do a good job of quality control while still ensuring that posting is fun for librarians. So what do we post on Instagram? Of all of the social media channels, this one is most open to interpretation, although CLP's content strategy and quarterly marketing messages are still present. We like to think big with Instagram. Whenever possible, posts should be appealing beyond our region. Patron stories should be universally feel-good, and images should be pleasing regardless of whether or not you're in Pittsburgh. Instagram Stories, however, offers an opportunity to present hyper-local, super-specific, and real-time content. Their ephemeral nature, they disappear after 24 hours, allow CLP the flexibility to have fun and experiment.
So we're going to get into a whole bunch of examples now. The following slides will be examples of different types of content that we post. So this post is a great example of a long-form patron story. Our annual public meeting was coming up, and we wanted to drum up some excitement and encourage patrons to attend. Instead of just pushing the event, we profiled one of our nominees for Advocate of the Year, which we present at that meeting. This caption reads, "Melissa is the catalyst behind a remarkable program at CLP's Library for the Blind and Physically Handicapped that harnesses teens' talents to create audiobooks for children with visual, physical, or reading disabilities. After volunteering as a narrator, editor, and monitor in LBPH's recording program, she saw the potential for establishing an on-site recording program for local high school students. The students collaborate to select, narrate, monitor, and digitally edit audiobooks for young children with disabilities. The books are made available nationally and internationally through a division of the Library of Congress. The teens come from all socioeconomic backgrounds and are inclusive of many racial, religious, and ethnic groups, including recent immigrants from Nepal, India, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Pakistan. Together, they have produced 50 recorded titles that would otherwise not have existed. In the process, the students learn real 21st century skills, including public speaking, basic reading skills, commitment, and empathy for others. In recognition of her remarkable work and dedication, Melissa is also a nominee for CLP's 2018 Library Advocate of the Year. Additional nominees will be recognized and the winners announced at our annual public meeting on Monday, March 19th at 6:30 at CLP East Liberty. Join us in celebrating their inspiring work. Learn more at carnegielibrary.org. This post checks a lot of boxes for us. We are able to promote the meeting and tease out our awards. We are able to highlight our library for the blind and physically handicapped, and we are able to tell an incredible story of impact about one of our volunteers.
This is another example of a long-form patron story. You'll often hear that captions should be quick and snappy, but we believe there are some exceptions to that rule. Our patron stories have been very successful on Instagram, and the content usually ends up getting repurposed for some of our other communications channels. In Kenneth's case, his story helped show some of the library's career services and e-resources. It also highlighted our downtown and business location. The caption reads, Kenneth's motto is, if you don't lose it, use it, you lose it, which is why you'll find him at CLP Downtown and Business at least twice a week building his tech and computer skills on one of the library's laptops. His resource of choice, lynda.com, a collection of over 1,000 online courses focused on software, technology, and creative skills that is free to access with your CLP library card. A self-proclaimed student of Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, Kenneth has completed more than a dozen of lynda.com's training courses and proudly displays his certifications on his own Instagram. From cybersecurity to troubleshooting your PC, which helped him update his home computer's operating system, Kenneth wants to be up to speed on all of the latest digital skills and hopes to pursue a career in tech support. At the library, I can work at my own pace and work freely without interruptions, Kenneth says. The librarians are always helpful. They know me and have helped me with my resume. A lifelong library user, as a child, the old Allegheny Library was his home base. Kenneth wants everyone to know that you can learn a lot of things without spending a lot of money. The library makes getting an education possible.
Another popular type of content we use is behind-the-scenes content. We have found that our followers love to see what happens behind the scenes at the library. This caption reads, our Best Books for Babies Selection Committee was hard at work this afternoon, thoughtfully curating the 2018 list, comprised of librarians, doctors, educators, and other early childhood experts. The group will examine more than 130 books this year, carefully considering criteria such as subject matter, illustrations, durability, and diversity. The committee discusses and votes on each title. Curious about which books made the top 10? There are no spoilers here. We'll be unveiling this year's most outstanding books later this spring. We have posted video of our book sorter and images of librarian trainings as well. These types of posts allow us to show the work as it is happening. Our library lovers are incredibly interested in this type of content. All right.
Hi, my name's Anna. I work here at the Carnegie Library, and I'm here to talk about some of my favorite books. I am recently obsessed with Lauren Groff. I really enjoyed Dates and Periods, which came out a few years ago, and most recently she published these short stories, Florida. And if you're interested in snakes, spiders, storms, bad mothers, any sort of creepy wildlife stuff, this book is for you. It's amazing. If you want any more recommendations, please visit us here at the library, or you can follow us on Twitter at Carnegie Library. If you tweet us with hashtag #MyNextRead, we would love to give you recommendations.
Each week, we try to post a 60-second staff picks video, which are very popular with our followers. These were developed in response to the staff picks book displays we swap out weekly at our main library. Librarians were already developing great content for our physical space, so we decided to move it into our virtual space as well. Showing staff and librarians that social media content doesn't necessarily mean extra work is an important part of our content strategy.
User-generated content is another way for us to tell our story. We are constantly keeping our eyes peeled and sharing content that we feel tells our story in a unique way. This is a repost of user-generated content and an example of using a story to describe a new service, expanded lending time. This caption reads, Jasper is probably the youngest patron of our circulating instrument collection. He is 3 years old and lately has been obsessed with synthesizers. He recently dropped by with his mom to return an item and check out a few more. He was beyond excited to learn we now loan things for 3 weeks. This type of content helps strengthen our bond with our patrons. They love to be featured on the library's account.
When we recently started a window restoration project on our main library, rumors started flying online, from insect infestations to the library closing. We immediately knew we had to get ahead of the rumor mill and posted this simple photo and caption on all 3 of our main social media channels. The caption reads, "Pardon the dust. We are in the process of restoring CLP Maine's historic windows, as well as the masonry around their frames. The project will take about 2 months, and the library is open to the public as usual in the meantime." You can see from the number of likes that people were indeed curious and appreciated this information.
Spontaneous and librarian-generated content is another important type of post we use. It is important for our staff to feel empowered to create and post content as it is happening. We encourage posting of this type because it shows the library through the eyes of our staff and highlights what they feel is important. This post was taken during the local Pride Parade, and the caption reads, "CLP staff, volunteers, and Drag Queen Story Hour families had a blast at Pittsburgh Pride today."
While Instagram is quite passive by nature, we do try to spice things up every now and then. This particular post invited people to vote using emojis for one of our library after-hours events. It was a fun way to drum up audience engagement and get the word out early about the party.
So using Instagram stories is another way we are telling our story. As we mentioned before, they offer an opportunity to present hyper-local, super specific, and real-time content. Their ephemeral nature, they disappear after 24 hours, allows CLP the flexibility to have fun and experiment. They do not need to be high quality, and they offer a unique way to engage with patrons. We created this story during our Love Your Library fundraising campaign. As you can see, it's very simple, quickly shot and posted right away.
So now that you've posted sparkling, attractive, useful content, you must engage. The goal is to keep the conversation going. Monitor your posts for comments and questions, and listen for other relevant online conversations you can contribute to on behalf of your library. And if you're working with a social media team, encourage them to jump in. We ask our librarians, would you discuss this, answer this, show this, share this in a face-to-face interaction with a patron while at work? If the answer is yes, then you should feel confident that you are representing your library in a positive, impactful way.
We are going to switch gears a little bit now and talk about a specific account that we run, which is for our teen space. This video that I'm about to show is made from all Instagram posts and stories on our teen space account. So as you can see, our Teen Space account content is very different from our main account because it is for a very different audience. Our Teen Space account follows two goals for content. We must tell real teen stories. Teens want to see and hear from other teens. We use real teens and tell real stories whenever possible. And second, we must make teens co-creators of the message. We need to make them part of the marketing effort. Teen films, photos, writing, artwork, and craft projects can become more integral parts of the marketing, illustrating the story of this vibrant and creative place, literally made by teens. So our Teen Space Instagram is very different in content, but not in how we approach the content. We use the same types of content we use on our main channel, but we focus in on the teen-generated content for our Teen Space account. Teens are fickle and know when they are being marketed to. The following slides are some examples of our teen content. This caption reads, "Did you know you can borrow Wi-Fi hotspots at the library?" We could just post a picture of the Wi-Fi hotspots, but these two are way more compelling, and it shows other teens that they can take one out too.
This caption reads, "These fearless library fans braved the snow to come to CLP Sheridan today. We're making snowflakes, mittens, and hats." This image conveys so much happiness, fun, and warmth for a snowy, cold day. It showcases the teens and the snowflake fun that is happening in the library, and also alludes to the fact that we are open during snow days.
So this caption reads, "A dark and deeply moving Lego drama by rising filmmaker Lamar." There is so much I love about this one. Lamar was camera shy, but he was more than willing to showcase his film. Instead of the library telling the teens that they can learn stop motion and filmmaking at the library, we highlight Lamar's creative talent, which allows viewers to see what can be done and to give them creative ideas of what they can do too. Teens talking to teens is the best way to market to them. You can create teen ambassadors by helping teens get their talents shown to a larger audience. This is another image from our Teen Space account. The caption reads, "Skills alert. Julian spent some quality time in the CLP Teen Space today, making this most epic body pillow and messenger bag. Julian now joins the ranks on our achievement wall for learning to hand sew and use the sewing machine." Julian was so proud to be featured on the Teen Space Instagram, and he made sure to share it with his family and friends.
Featuring teens for work they have done in the library empowers and excites them and gives them an outlet to show off their creations. This caption reads, "Teens silkscreen these shirts during teen time at CLP Homewood. We snapped this photo the next day when they came into the library wearing them." When teens feel valued and their work is important, they are more apt to share the posts on their own accounts or invite a friend to join them at the library.
Last but certainly not least, location takeover videos are a key part of our Teen Space Instagram strategy. They are a way to engage our teen specialists and get them excited about creating content and encouraging their teens to do so as well. Our #1 objective is to celebrate the unique personality of each CLP Teen Space with location takeovers. Each of our 19 locations participate in our teen takeovers. These takeovers allow teens a chance to show off all the exciting things happening in their space. Takeovers include 1 to 2 traditional photo posts as well as 1 story. And here is an example. You can see they used a little slow-mo on this one. Instagram stories give followers a behind-the-scenes view of Teen Space culture. We use them to document programming, teen-generated art, music, interviews. The sky's the limit. Within Instagram stories, you don't have to worry about overposting. Instead, you can share as much as you want, and with as much creativity, silliness, geekiness, etc. as you want throughout the day. The photos and video disappear after 24 hours and won't appear in the main Teen Space profile grid or feed. Not only has this strategy increased our Instagram followers by 6%, but it also allows us to capture video and images to use for other purposes as well. Staff is incredibly engaged in creating this content because it is not a chore. It is just another way to interact with teens and get them involved. Our mantra is, again, document, don't promote. One barrier to creating the type of content we have outlined, as someone mentioned in a question before, was our very strict photo policy. We changed our policy to be more flexible to reflect the changing use of images and videos and to rely more on verbal permissions than signed photo releases. This was incredibly important for all of our social media, but especially for TeenSpace. We created a new policy that allows staff to engage with patrons and to get verbal approval to use their images. For teens, we allow the teens to approve their own usage. In the year or so since we changed our policy, we have not had one complaint from a parent. Most are happy to see their kids enjoying the library and are happy to help promote the great work that they do.
So if we haven't already convinced you to take advantage of Instagram to show off all the amazing stories your library has, here are a few more things to entice you. As Katie mentioned, Instagram is the fastest growing social media platform. In June of 2018, it reached 1 billion monthly users, which is up 800 million users in less than a year. And it is estimated that 71% of US businesses use Instagram. According to Tutor.com, 64% of 18 to 29-year-olds use Instagram, 40% of 30 to 49-year-olds, 21% of 50 to 64-year-olds, and 10% of those 65 years old and older. So you're reaching an extremely wide audience of all ages. And not only are you reaching a huge and diverse group of people, the content you post on Instagram will receive 3 times as much engagement as content posted on Facebook. The idea is that visual content is processed faster and more efficiently by the human brain. It is retained longer and elicits more emotions. Therefore, it is engaged with more often. Instagram is a mobile platform by design, and 80% of social media consumption happens on mobile devices. This means by prioritizing Instagram within your social media strategy, you're providing your audience with excellent user experience. Instagram is linked to and owned by Facebook, so you can control all of your ads and boosts in one place. Be sure to set up both Facebook Business Manager and Instagram for Business to access all of the tools and analytics. And finally, just another shout out to Instagram stories and highlights. If any of you have ever spent a half hour crafting a 2-sentence caption, this is the space to alleviate all of your perfectionist tendencies and social media anxiety. Instagram stories are all about less perfection and more play. Stories nurture casual, spontaneous, and authentic content. You can use them to feature behind-the-scenes content, user-generated content, and things not quite curated enough to make it into your main feed. The use of questions and polls in stories increases engagement, simultaneously increasing the likelihood that Instagram's algorithms will show your content to a user next time around.
So thank you. That is the end of our presentation. I'm going to hand this back over to Susan for questions.
Wonderful. And we got quite a few more questions. So I've been busy typing them out here as we go along. Let me pull this over. And what I've done is I've cleaned up the questions so that they're all in just one PowerPoint. And I'm going to go ahead and put these up where on our Client Resource Center, which is at tutor.com/clientcarelib. I'll include that in the follow-up email for everybody so you guys can go ahead and go in, see the questions. I put answers in yellow for those that we've gone through already. I know it's not neat and pretty, but it gives you the information. So let's go ahead and just pick up where we left off in terms of the questions that were coming through. So have any of you guys, either library, received any kind of negative response to an Instagram post or any kind of backlash? And if so, how did you handle that?
This is Nora. I'll jump in and take that one. We actually haven't really received much backlash on Instagram, but we have had some negative comments and conversations take place on some of our other channels. we're actually developing some kind of strategies to deal with those instances moving forward. But in general, as long as conversations are respectful, we kind of let them play out. If things get a little bit out of hand, then we do try to take things into a direct message so we can kind of talk one-on-one with that person outside of the public eye. But in general, if the conversations are respectful, we do tend to let them stay.
Okay, great. Next question, then we'll go ahead and move on. Have you found any use for IGTV? And being an Instagram rookie myself, I'm wondering what in the world that is.
So here at CLP, we have not experimented with IGTV yet. This is an idea kind of in tandem with Instagram Live that allows you to kind of post longer form videos to Instagram. Right now, we're still kind of tackling Facebook Live, Instagram Live, and video in general. So we have not moved on to this kind of stage yet. But I do think there's a lot of potential, especially if your library is prioritizing video, which we do hope to do in the future. I think there's a lot that you can do there.
All right, great. Linking your Instagram posts to your Facebook account as well. Someone mentioned that when they do this, they end up having problems with the photos getting cropped and heads cut off and things. Do you guys have that issue, or do you link the two accounts in any way? Anyone?
So we, this is Nora speaking. We do have those accounts linked, but we rarely share, we rarely use the share functionality to post content from one platform to the other. So in an instance where I might use the same photo on both platforms, I post them individually. I imagine, although I haven't experienced what's being described here, I imagine there is some room for glitches and cropping. And so I think to avoid that, posting to each platform individually is a good way to go.
A good way to go. Okay. All right. Contests or giveaways. Have you done those on Instagram?
Yes, CLP has done contests and giveaways, particularly with our younger audiences. We've given away amusement park tickets to our Teen Space followers, and we have also done things on some of on our regular Instagram channel. It's usually asking people to comment on the post, like the post, and potentially tag a friend. And so the goal is really to kind of share that content with a wider audience by requesting that they like and share it.
All right. Where are we? We are down at okay, another question just came in very similar to this. Do you guys notice that people follow you just to seem to fish for you to follow them? And if so, is there anything that you do about this? Like they'll follow you and then unfollow you once you followed them?
Here at CLP, we don't necessarily follow back everyone who follows us. So this isn't something that we have kept a close eye on. We kind of strategically follow other libraries and partners within our community to make sure that we're seeing and interacting with their content. But on kind of a more micro level like this, it's not something that, that we've really paid attention to.
Okay. Okay, and that actually goes along with the question that had come in, your policy for following back on Instagram, especially like teens who want you to follow their personal page. So it sounds like you guys don't do a lot of that at all with the personal.
No.
Okay, great. Next question, and I just started the numbering over. Do you utilize the story highlights feature? Why, yes, we definitely saw that in action during your presentation. Did you guys have, that was the main question. So I just put it on there for those that may need this. So next up, and this is sort of open not only to our presenters, but also those in the audience. Has anyone used a live posting of social media like a photo booth at a program and had any concerns of the content being posted? I think there's a little fear of what could go wrong here.
I can speak. This is Molly. I can speak to that a little bit. I know when we first started working with our teen specialists to do teen content, especially on our stories, or doing live things, they were incredibly concerned about teens swearing or doing something inappropriate. We really counseled them to let's give it a shot and see what happens, especially with Instagram stories, because things that rolls off after 24 hours. So if there really is something that horrible, after 24 hours, it's going to disappear anyway. We have not had any problems with inappropriate content. That is within our teens posting, our library staff posting. We lay out the expectations that really there are not that many. And everybody has been really wonderful about it.
All right, wonderful. Next question is about, I'm guessing this is a time constraint question. For those at the library that are posting on Instagram, is it your only job? Or I know that Nora, Molly, you guys are more into the marketing side of things, but Katie is out on the floor as well as doing the posting. But would you like to share how much of your job Instagram takes up?
Yeah, I can share that. So I actually am only part-time at the library. I am 24 hours a week, and so for me that equates to 3 days a week. And I easily spend about at least half of each day on desk. As you may or may not have seen, I work in young adult department at the library. And so I do contribute a lot to that department, not only helping patrons, but working with the collection, displays, all kinds of things like that. And personally, I don't think it's a huge time constraint whatsoever. It becomes something that gets me out and about around the library more than just my department. I make trips to that the digital media lab that we have, which is that maker space I talked about way earlier. And I even spend time going out and about in the community. Once I showcase, we have little free libraries all around different public places in our city, and I went around to a bunch of those to showcase those. And despite everything and being the only person who runs the Instagram, I usually don't have any trouble not even being full-time here at the library. The only thing that I do is so that I can post on the days that I'm not there, I use my phone alarm once a day to remind me, like, hey, post the picture that you have planned. Like, I've planned it all out at work already. I've got pictures ready ahead of time. It's just a matter of alarm goes off, post it. It takes 2 seconds, and I go off with the rest of my day. So.
Okay. So would you say you spend less than an hour a day when you're doing these, Katie?
In general, absolutely. I mean, there are obviously days, like I mentioned, where if I'm at an event that our library is doing, or if I'm going out and about in the community, that might be a little bit longer. But I'd say the longest that I spend is once a month, we have a kind of like a little magazine that advertises everything that's coming up that our library is taking part in, cool, interesting things we're doing. And it comes out a few weeks before the month actually starts, and I'll take that and I'll take it to that planner that I have, and I'll plan out, I'll look at the different events and I'll plan out, like, be at this event and post pictures there, or advertise this event ahead of time. And that might take maybe a little over an hour, but other than that, it does not take maybe like 10 minutes if it's just like a post at a time or a couple posts that I'm preparing.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Next question. I I think this is a webinar issue, not a video issue. Molly and Nora, as you guys were showing some of the videos, a few of them were stuttering on our screen. They don't actually do that on your Instagram feed. Is that correct? It's just the webinar.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a webinar issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the bandwidth. I have that issue when I'm trying to demonstrate or train folks with our service, the Tutor.com service, and sometimes it looks stuttery and jerky, and it just ends up being the bandwidth on the webinar sharing. So, okay, what video editing software do you guys use, Carnegie?
Yep. So I believe that the very simple video editing offered in Instagram is probably enough to do most jobs, especially if you are just kind of casually recording on the fly while a program is taking place, or filming a staff pick. If I need a little bit extra, I like Video Shop, which is a free app. There is a paid version, but the free version will get you a lot of functionality. And something that I really like within that app is you can crop your video to be landscape, portrait, or square. So if you mistakenly, photo or video in landscape and you want it to be portrait, you can switch it around really easily. And you can also divide a longer video up into the timed segments you need depending on what social media channel you're posting it for. So if I have a minute-long video that I'd like to put in my Instagram stories, I need to chop it up into 15-second clips. This app does that for you automatically. Okay,
great. And then has anyone used a live posting of social media? Didn't we cover, maybe I did I'm sorry, see, I was going so fast that I duplicated one of the questions. And that was actually the last one I had a chance to write down, but a few have come in since we've been talking some more, and it looks like we have about 7 more minutes. I did book through the full 90 minutes for Q&A, so I'm going to ask a couple others that I didn't get on the slides yet. Hello, Pittsburgh. Can you talk about your library's attitude towards hashtags? I'm scrolling through the account and don't see many instances.
Yeah, we can. We have prioritized our location hashtags and our readers advisory hashtag, which is Pittsburgh Reads. We found that we really wanted to emphasize location representation on our Instagram. So most Instagram posts should include the location hashtag for the location where the program or event or story is taking place. Additionally, Pittsburgh Reads is something that we kind of coined maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and that really speaks to our readers advisory services here at the library, but it's taken on a life of its own, and people use it throughout Pittsburgh. Tagging all sorts of book-related posts with this tag. So it's kind of created a citywide conversation that has kind of gone above and beyond the library itself, although I think most people do still associate it with us. So we're kind of playing around with other hashtags that might kind of take on that same life. But as far as some of the more common hashtags, things like Flashback Friday, things like that, we do occasionally take part in some of those virtual conversations, but it's not quite a priority within our content strategy.
Okay. All right, great. I just had a really good question come in that I think I'd love to hear the answer for. Do you have any advice, any of you, any advice for getting an Instagram account started, specifically with promoting it around your community? How do you even make people aware of it? What do you got for us there?
Sure, so this is Nora. I can jump in there. If you are just starting out, I think that kind of proactive engagement is absolutely critical. So make sure that you follow all of your partners and other organizations and nonprofits within your region. Make sure that you're following other libraries. Jump in there with comments and likes and questions so people can see that you do have a presence on this channel. And then you want to make sure that within your physical library that you are promoting the fact that you have content on this new channel. And I think if you have quality content and engaging content and you are focusing on storytelling like we've been talking about, your followers will come.
Okay, Wonderful. There were a couple of others, and we do have a few more minutes. Does anybody happen to know, off the top of your head, what percentage of youth under 18 use Instagram? That's another question. I've seen a number before. I know it's extraordinarily high compared to other social media, but I can't remember the exact percentage.
I'm not sure of the exact number either, but I did just read a headline recently that teen Instagram users surpassed Snapchat users for the first time. So it is a growing audience.
Wow. Okay, excellent. And I think this is the platform that you will find the teens on the most, for sure. So, all right, let me run or look through just a few. Pittsburgh, you guys changed your library's process for photo permission. Somebody was just asking, what was your library's process for changing your photo permission? Did you just decide to do it? I think there are a lot of libraries that are under many strict rules from municipalities, and so we're sort of looking for that.
Yeah, when I first started here, we had a very strict photo policy where we were required to have a signed permission form, and actually it's a paper form for every image that we used on social media or in any marketing materials. This was incredibly restrictive, and if you can kind of see the change on our Instagram and our social media from when you can see that photo policy changed, because we did a lot of images of the backs of people's heads, of people behind books, all of those types of little tricks and quirks that you do. This was something that was really important to me from a marketing standpoint. I know just looking forward with our social media and our video and our photos, that this is the future of marketing. And we needed to be able to work quickly and flexibly and able to achieve that. So I brought up the idea of making this change. Nora and I worked on it. We, had to go through our senior leadership. We had to run it by our lawyers, all of that. But to Katie's point from Carmel Clay, our spaces are public spaces. So legally, all we have to do is put a sign up saying that you will be photographed. Ethically, on the other hand, our library felt very strongly that we didn't want to just, take pictures of people and put them up without their knowing. So part of that compromise was that librarians would approach people and ask them and make sure that they were comfortable with us using the images. We do still require a signed paper release for any image we use for our fundraising materials or our marketing, like if we do a commercial or any other marketing purposes that is not social media related, we will get a signed release for that.
Okay, great, wonderful.
And I will say that it was not easy. It took us about 2 years to change that photo policy. So it takes a lot of stamina and a real push to want to do that to get it done. But I encourage everyone to do it because our social media is a much different place now that we did.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and I'm seeing the original asker of the question is concerned about, split custody and folks with religions that do not allow photos. But you mentioned that you guys ask them verbally.
Absolutely.
You put that on, and I think it's a matter of just respecting their wishes in that regard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We also had some answers come in. Great librarians or researchers, of course. So, 2 different studies. 78% of U.S. teens aged 15 to 17 years old use the social networking app of Instagram was one answer. And then another one, very, very close. Teens are at 72%, according to Pew Research in May. So we're in the 70s in regards to the number of teens or percent of teens that use Instagram. So with that, we have reached the end, and it was fantastic. If I did not get to your question, I apologize, but I think we actually hit the majority of them here. So again, I want to thank everybody so very much for joining us today, and especially our presenters, Katie, Molly, Nora. This was fantastic information. And thank you for sharing all of your knowledge. Everyone, if you would like to engage further with Tutor.com, of course, I put the information up here, but also be aware we do webinars like this. We try to do them about every 4 times a year. And so keep an eye out for other thought leader webinars from Tutor.com. Thank you, everybody, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you.